Welcome back to another episode of Unscripted, the go-to podcast for those flipping the script and taking the unexpected path. I'm your host, Jessica Bergio, holistic life and business coach, author, speaker, and self-proclaimed high-energy hype girl. Each week, I'm bringing you inside. No gatekeeping here. I'll touch on proven holistic business strategies, powerful mindset shifts that have led my clients through massive transformations, and no BS conversation with industry leaders designed to help you get out of your own way to actively pursue a life of purpose. If you're ready to ditch the limitations at the door, hit follow and get ready to be activated to step boldly towards your big goals. Now let's dive in. Guys, I just wanted to pop in real quick before we jump into today's episode and share with you why I'm obsessed with Glossy, the brand new skincare routine that you can drink, from my good friend Lori Harder. She has honestly created a product I can't live without. Let's be honest, our time is too precious for a 10-step skincare routine, let alone knowing what different vitamins you should be taking every morning. Well, the good news is Glossy can be your go-to wellness solution. This is not your average beauty product. It's a skin and gut superfood designed to work its magic from the inside out. The result? A lighter, more glowing you, ready to conquer each day with newfound energy and confidence. I've really noticed my skin is glowing and my gut feels better than ever. The probiotic that was created for this product has been run through over 30 clinical studies. The hyaluronic acid increases hydration, making your skin look and feel smoother and plumper. And we all know zinc supports our healthy immune system. Vitamin C helps to boost your body's production of collagen, while prickly pear and coconut water powder help support your hydration levels. And then my favorite, which is magnesium, helps support our metabolism, bone health, and keeps us regular, while helping to maintain reduced levels of stress. Pretty much a perfect product, in my opinion. I have a big discount for any new subscribers. Just click the link in the show notes below and grab your first order of Glossy today. And for a limited time, screenshot your receipt and send it to me in a DM on Instagram, and I will enter you into my Glossy giveaway. Now let's jump back into the episode. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited you're here. Today is episode number 321. That is so crazy and wild to me. I'm like, how did we get here? I know how we got here. It was a lot of hard work. A lot of starting messy, a lot of starting a little bit scared and confused, but we did it. And if you've been on this ride with me for a while, you know that this podcast has ebbed and flowed. The name of the show used to be called The name of the show used to be called Beauty Inspires Beauty. And I am your host, Jessica Bergio. So if you're new here, welcome. We're going to get into a little bit of a backstory on how the podcast started, where I saw an opportunity to change direction with the podcast, and some insights that I've learned about starting the podcast, but then really utilizing and growing my network through the podcast. Now, this isn't to talk you into start your own podcast, but it's just to give you some backstory of like how I even got started here. And if you've been an avid listener to the show, I'm so excited that you have been on this journey with me. If you're brand new, again, welcome. I don't know how you found me. Please let me know. I always love to know how my listeners found the show. And I'm going to give you some insight as to where the name Unscripted came from as well, because obviously there's probably, I don't even know, hundreds of podcasts titled this or have the tagline Unscripted. And it resonates with me really, really deeply. So again, you guys know my name is Jessica Bergio. I'm a holistic life and business coach, but more so a podcast mentor. And I love to speak about this topic. I love talking about content creation. I love helping you utilize this platform to find your voice, connect with your voice. And that's what it's really done for me. So a little bit of the backstory if you're new here, or if I haven't told the story in a while, because I've had a lot of really epic guests on lately, and I really love sharing my network with you. I think it's really important to pull back the curtain on people's stories, because we see this shiny after. We see this beautiful Instagram feed. We see someone's perfectly curated website or their TikTok or whatever it might be, whatever it is that you are looking at, maybe putting someone else on a pedestal thinking, how did they get there? Or must be nice. Or if only I could figure it out, have the money to start, be brave enough to like shift careers and take yourself online if you're not currently in the online space. So for me, I had opened my salon after joining a business mastermind about 6 years ago. And at that time, I'd been a hairdresser behind the chair. I was like a co-owner of another small salon space beforehand, but I wouldn't really consider myself a salon owner at that point. But I was behind the chair for over 20 years. And I learned so much about people. I learned so much about communication and asking good questions, really diving into what somebody wants so that technique of listening, truly freaking listening to what is being said in order to give somebody the desired result that they wanted. I had no idea that skill set would translate into becoming a really great coach and an interviewer for this podcast, but it's definitely what gave me the basis and foundation to have something to work with. Not to say I was a professional right when I started, because again, I had no clear direction. So I'll take you guys back to opening my, I think it was 15-year journey a 15-year journey to opening my dream salon. And that salon fell in my lap by way of a client who had been with me for about 10 years and casually mentioned something about one of the loft spaces downtown that they needed to sublease. And it just happened to work out perfectly. Literally, by the time the day he told me to the day we opened was about 6 weeks, which is crazy. If you know anything about building out a salon and putting together a brick and mortar, like everything fell into place. And lo and behold, 6 months later, COVID happened and we were completely shut down. And I was in the middle of busy downtown and there was just no way to continue working. And I thought, oh my gosh, here is my dream finally brought to fruition. And now it's closed. But the little voice in my head telling me of going bigger had been talking to me for quite some time. And I had been playing kind of dumb, like I wasn't listening to it. And there was a lot of curiosity around growing a community in the beauty industry. And so I had started these beauty insider brunches, they were called. I started these before I opened the salon in order to build community, in order to bring hairdressers and people in the beauty industry together by way of just like networking in a non-sleazy, kind of really fun personal development kind of way. And they were taking off. They were doing amazing. It wasn't like a traditional class, right? It was like a workshop style, come, have a drink, hang out. Sometimes we had speakers. Sometimes we did workshops on goal setting. So it was really like a vibe. It was really taking off. And again, the salon was closed. And I was at a point where I knew that if I didn't start speaking up, if I didn't start creating some sort of like personal brand outside of being labeled as a hairdresser or behind the chair stylist or even salon owner, that I was never going to be able to expand and to see what was possible for myself. And so not only was that kind of the underlying reason why I started the podcast, I secretly had wanted to start it for about 2 years, watching some of my mentors and people that were in that business mastermind start their podcast, grow their show, and really create visibility with that show. So I share all that because I literally had no direction with the show. I had no name picked out. I just knew I wanted to give my industry a voice during that crazy time where we were closed. And so for the first like 30 episodes, we recorded in the salon under the radar. I had a client who was a videographer who recorded them all live. And it was amazing. And so probably about the first 40 episodes, we recorded in the salon. We shared stories. I got a little bit better learning audio and the tech side of things, how to maybe ask better questions, all the things that you kind of stumble over in the beginning of starting something new, which I had to remind myself over and over again, like, I'm new at this. I'm new at this. And I would make jokes. If you listen to the first, 15, 20 episodes, you'll hear the insecurity in my voice and the audio is terrible and some of the videos shoddy on YouTube, but we did it. We started messy. And somewhere around episode 40 or 50, I share this, I started to have this awakening that truly I loved entrepreneurship, early stage entrepreneurship. I love that pivot side of entrepreneurship where anything is possible and you are the driver. It is your business and you can make decisions from whatever aligned place you feel would best serve you in the season of life that you're in, which is a wild, stark difference than working in corporate where you have a list of things that need to get done. You have a specific role and that is your role to perfect and perform. And if you don't, you're out. If you do, you climb the corporate ladder. So it's really black and white, right? But in entrepreneurship land, that is not the case. If you are the founder, you are also the marketer and the social media person, and you are the podcaster perhaps, and you are actually the service provider as well. So many roles to play in the early stages of entrepreneurship. And a lot of people pivot over from something into entrepreneurship. Maybe you were an entrepreneur in a different way, but you're pivoting, trying something different. And that's the fun, creative part that I love to dig into with my clients. And often I'll assess and say, hey, you know, what would really support this is a podcast. And for many people, they're like, I would love to start a podcast. I just don't think I can be consistent enough. I don't think that I can create enough content of value for a long period of time to keep a podcast going. And I'm like, where did you make up the rules of podcasting? Because I don't know where those are. Podcasting is like a free for all, just like entrepreneurship. There are no rules. You can drop one episode a week, one episode a month, 5 episodes a day. You literally can do whatever you want. You can go Joe Rogan style, 2-3 hour episodes. You can do short little blurbs of 5 minutes that I see a lot of people do for like meditation apps or mantra apps if you want, but they've transferred that over into a podcast. So many cool ways to use this platform, but some people are better served as guests on a podcast. And that's also what I love figuring out for my clients as well is maybe what you have to offer is so niche that you can go and talk on other people's podcasts, help drive value to them, get in front of like audiences that are going to really absorb your content, follow you, go into your community, potentially buy from you, all of that. So you can hear the excitement in my voice because I just feel like a podcast has really changed my life. And lo and behold, that's going to be the title of my next book, How a Podcast Can Change Your Life. Because I truly feel like not only has it given me something to really sink my teeth into and commit to, it has opened up so many opportunities for conversations with people that I wouldn't normally get an opportunity to chat with, let alone get an hour of their undivided attention with. So this has helped me build relationships. This has helped me expand my network, get introductions to people, again, that I would have never had a chance to see, meet, talk to, learn from, become friends with. It's insane. So what I'm saying basically is you can't even foresee the ROI on developing yourself as a podcast host because you haven't been there yet. And maybe you don't know enough people in the podcast space that can speak these words to you and share with you what it has created for them. Because honestly, like even just the opportunity to go vet a guest before they come on the show, see what they're all about so that I can really squeeze some juice out of the episodes feels really good because I feel like I know that person. I go and hang out on their page. I listen to some of their podcast episodes if they have one. And then we get to know each other and we get to share some really cool information that might help somebody else. And that ultimately is my why. Being able to truly create impact and help somebody get out of their own way, take action, realize they're not alone, potentially learn how to do something is my carrot. That is my why. I chase it around all the time, just hoping I create impact wherever I go, wherever these podcast episodes land, wherever I get an opportunity to speak or share my message. And I am a creative, multi-passionate entrepreneur, and I bet you are too. Maybe you don't label yourself as a creative, but we all have that creative bone in our body. Some of us know how to flex it a little bit more. Some of us are still figuring it all out. But even if I bet you're in the corporate space and you listen to this podcast, there is an entrepreneur bone in your body. You probably take your role more seriously than the majority of people that you work with because true entrepreneurs always are looking to solve problems and make things better and create an impact. And so I share that because a lot of people are confused on when they should start the podcast. And I joked with one of my girlfriends a while back on another episode where we talked about the fact that she compared it to working out. You're not going to wait till you're in shape to hire the trainer and start going to the gym. You're going to go to the gym, find a trainer, and start committing to showing up in order to get in shape and feel healthy, right? So a podcast will do the same thing for your business, for your network, for your life, for you, all the things. And that's why I'm so excited and passionate about it. It is a personal development journey in of itself. And my girlfriend, Lori Harder, shares this all the time. And she was one of those mentors who went before I did and started her podcast called Earn Your Happy. And she's now, I want to say, at like 65 million downloads. I know the podcast generates well over 6 figures on its own through ads. And she's been able to sell out everything that she's ever created because she's given so much through that podcast. And I just want to share one more thing that I think podcasting has been able to do is open my eyes to not judge a book by its cover, aka people, because I get a lot of pitches from people now about coming on the show and they want to be guests and share their message and their book or their idea or their business. And it's really easy to look at somebody and think, oh, I don't know if what they're going to share has anything to do with what I might be interested in. And so I, again, try to look at what do I like to share with my audience and can I find that in that person in a different way? Because I love a good aha moment where you're listening to a podcast and you just are like, oh my God, perspective shift. Yes, I got it. I got what I need. Good to go. That's what I'm always hoping comes through. And if I think I'm going to give that every episode, I know I'm sadly mistaken. So that's why not judging guests by their appearance or maybe what I think their main mission is and being open to finding that connectivity that we may have so that we can connect on something and be able to once again feel seen, feel heard, feel like we are not alone because we're all connected. And that's a really cool thing about social media, the online space, is that you can be light years away from somebody across the country, but still feel so close and connected because you hear them share something that resonates with you. So I have been working diligently to create a podcast playbook, the ultimate podcast playbook. And I'm going to put this together in a workshop form and teach it live a couple of times to see if there's anything that I missed. I don't think I did, but I want to run it live, get your real feedback on it, and see if there's anything that I could squeeze out of a little bit more to add to it. And this is going to be something that you can utilize. You can also apply these techniques and frameworks that I talk about in the playbook with social media and with other areas where you're creating content. It's the juice. It's like the repeatable, replicatable framework that is going to change the game for you as far as creating quality content for the podcast, as far as recognizing, do I need a podcast or do I need to just become a guest expert and podcast my little face off on other people's shows? It's a great way to look at maybe the podcast you've already created and see how you can get more strategic about your original content, about getting different guests on, about expanding your reach with the show, possibilities of aligned partnerships that might be the perfect brand partners for you to monetize the show and promote a product that feels really good to you, ways to create offers on your podcast that are exclusive for listeners. So many cool things. I just literally geeked out on it. It's a hefty playbook, but it's something that you're going to be able to dive into and really take this shit seriously if that's what you want to do. So I shared all that, and we're 15 minutes into the podcast because what's been really interesting and coming up for me over the last couple of months and why I've been pushing out more guest episodes and solo episodes is because I'm on a journey right now. I am on a real freaking journey. If we can, we're going to get a little personal. So I have an almost 13-year-old son who actually will be 13 next month. And that is tripping me out. I'm not going to lie. I'm tripping the fuck out. His dad and I separated when he was about 2. We were apart for about 4.5+ years, got back together about a year, got stuck together during COVID, quickly separated once that was cleared. He met someone, has been with her ever since. I met someone, I've been with Scott ever since. And we've just been navigating this really interesting season. There's been some crazy shit that's gone on, and I alluded on my stories and in podcasts that I would share more about what happened, but it just doesn't feel right to share the details of it, even though it's very fucking much my story to share. There's just some things that I feel are best kept to myself and protected because I know eventually content will get out and there's a possibility that Kai could listen to things. So I'm just trying to be very demure, very mindful, very demure. No, I'm kidding. Had to throw the bad joke in there. It's going wild on Instagram. But I share all that because when we are committed to something like this podcast, like my coaching business, but life is lifing the F out of us, it's okay to take a pause and to pull back. I often talk about trying to keep your foot on the gas just a little bit. And I feel like I've done that with pulling back to just one episode a week and not completely dropping off the face of this earth and not posting on social and not posting any podcast episodes, even though there was definitely a few moments where I wanted to just hit the pause button hardcore. I would never say I want to quit on anything. It's just the direction of which kind of life is taking us feels very unclear. And when I don't have clear direction on where I want to go and where I could potentially land, I have a really hard time creating original content, sitting down and sharing my thoughts with you or getting excited about something because I'm still a little bit lost in the sauce. And I just want to share that with anybody who is a content creator, whether it's podcasting or you're showing up on social media. I had a mastermind group that I ran earlier this year, and there were 7 amazing women in that group, and 6 actually made it all the way through. And one of the girls has since lost a grandparent. It was going through some things. Another girl almost didn't join in the beginning of that because her mom had just passed away. And then recently she just shared with us that another family member passed away. So out of the 6 of us, like life be lifing, right? Another girl had to go through a bunch of things at the house. They had a flood and they had to move and they have 2 kids and like all sorts of things. And this is why building community within this podcast is so important to me. And I want you to know that you are listening to the show, which makes you part of this community. And my goal for the rest of this year is to really build out what that community can feel like for all of us to come together, whether that's a live event, whether that's a retreat, whether that's somewhere where we can all convene with the conversations that have been had on this show, with the way I speak, with the way I share information and shift perspectives and talk about life. I want you to feel like you have a say as part of the community, because that is truly really important to me. Because there are some days where I feel like I'm just talking to myself here, and I know I'm not. I see the downloads coming in. I know that this resonates with you guys on such a deep level, but I know life is busy, and I know that sometimes you forget to reshare the podcast, or that you forget to let me know that you're one of the downloads. I can't see people's names when they download. I just see the numbers. And sometimes that feels a little bit weird. And I love metrics, right? I love checking the data and seeing how many downloads come through, but I would care more if 5 people listened and 5 people reached out and shared something that was helpful, or something they wished I would have talked more about, or somebody they want to hear from because they're currently going through something. And when I say I truly want to hear from you, I truly want to hear from you. So unless there's hundreds of bots downloading my show who are never going to talk to me, which I know they're not, this is your personal invitation from me to please speak up, respond to the emails if you're part of my email list, converse with me on the DMs on Instagram, share with me whatever it is you're going through, so that we can create conversation around it and hopefully normalize or make you feel less alone in whatever journey you're currently on. And on a side note, to flip that, there are a lot of people who are having amazing wins in their life and in their business right now. And I want to celebrate the F out of you. And I want you to feel like you have a community of people cheering you on, like the bad mother trucker you are. Because sometimes when we look around, we don't feel safe to brag on the things that are going well in our life. We might not have a supportive family around us. We might not work for a supportive company that is really all about the wins. Maybe you're in a competitive situation where, it's like a cutthroat one for all. I don't really know. But I want you to feel safe, seen, and heard when you're here. And so we want to create some kind of a community. I haven't quite figured it out, but I do know that we have the Unscripted Cabo retreat coming down the pipeline in February. The last week of February 2025, we will be in Cabo San Lucas at my favorite hotel, the Bahia, and I cannot wait to see who's going to jump on. We have about 15 more spots open. All of the girls from the mastermind jumped on it and have already booked their rooms. I want to make sure that anybody who's interested, just send me a DM, respond to one of the emails, get on the wait list. I'll have the wait list linked in the show notes below. So just put yourself on the wait list, even if you're not 100% sure what you're doing, all the way in February of 2025. You can get the discounts now and make payments so that it is all paid for once you get there. So that's my first go at creating some real community around the conversations that we have on this podcast. So I hope today's episode was entertaining. If you are someone who's like, oh my gosh, okay, I can't wait for this podcast playbook any longer, Jess. I want to work with you one-on-one. I want help getting started with my podcast, and I want clear direction. I want to do it right. I want to create some kind of strategy. I want to be organized. Show me how you did it. I will walk you through step by step, and we can get you launched in less than 2 weeks. So with all that to say, I love you. I'm so grateful you're here. I love doing one-on-one work with my clients. If there's a more holistic life and business side that you want to dive into, that is my secret sauce. I'm sending you the little heart with my hands, because holding space is literally one of the most precious things that I get to do. And I do not take this work lightly. And then we'll be opening some VIP days at the end of the year where you can come to town. We can sit down and work on your business, talk about the things that are holding you back, keeping you stuck, and really take a lot of action in that day. These VIP days have been curated based off of what you need. So they're custom tailored to exactly what you're going through, what you're growing through, and what you want to push forward as far as taking action with goals. I've had a few really amazing VIP days in the last couple of months, and I think they're just friggin' game changers. So if you're over the long-term containers, you want to come in and do a one-to-one VIP day, let me know. And then if you want to start the podcast, let me know. But be sure to get on the waitlist for Unscripted Cabo, even if you're not sure, like I said. As always, I'm sending you so much love. Celebrate your wins. Share what's going on in life. Talk to somebody. Hit me up in the DMs if you need support. And I'll see you on the next episode of Unscripted. Giving back is easy. Leave Unscripted your 5-star rating and written review. I appreciate your support more than I could ever put into words.